Good evening, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. Thanks for being here. It's me, Aridotsu Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. Don't forget you can donate the links below. Thank you very much. And check my novels on Amazon. Thank you very much. All right. How are you all doing tonight? Well, it's night for me, morning for you. How are you all doing today? Let me know in the live chat. God is good. How are you all doing today? By the way, it is just an audio live I'm doing right now before I go to sleep. Or I may do an extra fasting after this live stream, I'll see. Listen, y'all. I'm about to tell a small story to you. And I want you to tell me what is wrong with the story. Alright? So I'm about to tell a story to you. Listen well to the story. Afterwards, I want you all to answer in the live chat. What is wrong with the story? Okay? Let's begin. Emily and her partner attend a funeral. The funeral is about the grandfather of Emily's husband, George. George died from a heart attack. He was already in his late 80s. So, well, and he also had health issues for over 3 decades already. So people expect it to happen. Okay, so there were a lot of people at the funeral. A lot of people, maybe 300 people, because he used to be a man that he used to be a businessman in his lifetime, provided jobs to many people, all that. After the funeral, Emily and her husband they attend an art fair in town. At the art fair, one of George's daughters is presenting her new exhibition. Okay, that was a story. Can someone, if anyone is here, can someone tell me what's wrong with this story? I'll tell the story one more time. Emily and her husband attend the funeral of George. George is the grandfather of Emily's husband, so he was her grandfather-in-law. He was in his late 80s and he had health issues over 3 decades. He died of a heart attack. Okay? George used to be a businessman who provided jobs for many people. So at his funeral, there were over 200 till 300 people. A lot of people were at the funeral. After the funeral, Emily and her husband go to an art fair where one of the aunt-in-laws of Emily, one of the aunts of her husband, that means one of the daughters of the deceased George, is holding an exhibition. Okay, that was the story. Can someone tell me what is wrong with this story? Let me know right now. I'll wait for 1.5 minutes. I'll wait for 2 minutes for you to give me an answer. What is wrong with this story? Let me know in the live chat, please. I'll wait for 2 minutes. Just one more minute. Within a minute, I'm going to explain it, but let me know your answers. What was wrong with that story? All right, I didn't get any answer yet from you all, or maybe it just came in. So I'm going to tell the story one more time, and I'm going to filter it for you. I already told you the story before, okay? Twice. And I ask you, what is wrong with the story? I didn't get any answers. So I can assume now a lot of you didn't figure out what's wrong with the story. So let me start from the start, okay? Emily and her husband attended a funeral. The one that passed away was the grandfather of Emily's husband. He was already in his late 80s. He had health issues for 3 decades. He died of a heart attack. And he used to be a businessman who offered jobs to many people during his lifetime. So there were many people coming to his funeral, between 200 to 300 people. Okay, so what you need to ask now is, okay, if this man's funeral was so occupied with so many people coming, question becomes, where were all these people when the man was still alive? Where were they? If they had the ability to quit whatever appointment they had, if they were able to get a day off of work or whatever, just to come to the man's funeral, then where were they in all the past decades that he had health issues? Where were they? You see where I'm going with this? And guess what? After the funeral, Emily and her husband, they attend an art fair where one of the daughters of the deceased is holding her exhibition. Now think about it. If your father just passed away, and he's been struggling with health issues for a long time, and if there's so many people coming to his funeral, why aren't you there? Why are you holding an art exhibition the same day of your father's funeral? And the funeral had to be planned ahead of time. So he could have told them, listen, I have an art exhibition that day. Can you please do the funeral before the art exhibition or whatever? The same day your father is being buried, you hold your art exhibition. Or at least you can say, you know what, keep the exhibition, but let someone else be in my place over there. I'm going to be at the funeral. So you see here that there's a big inconsistency. Indeed, well led. That's what comes down to. When I told the story before, twice, I asked you all what's wrong with the story. But because you didn't hear anything about the crime or you didn't actually hear specific details, you didn't think anything was wrong. Learn this in life. Often, it's not the obvious details into your face that show something is wrong. Often, it's what's missing. I mean, funerals are painful moments in general. Now, there are cultures where they celebrate your life at your funeral instead of being sad all the time, but nevertheless, it's still painful. Someone's dead. They're not coming back, especially if the individual died in a tragic way. But in any case, um, a funeral is not shouldn't be an open thing. Look, if a celebrity or a politician passes away, you have the private ceremony, and then you have the public um ceremony where they can say goodbye. But in this case, it was only one ceremony, a private ceremony, between 200, 300 people. So that means a lot of people were connected to this man. If they were also connected to him, I'm sorry, but it's a bit weird. If this man was so beloved, then how did he end up dying in such a horrible way? While he provided jobs for so many people. Now, here's what's wrong. Let me just tell you what's wrong over here. A lot of these people were there at the funeral. They were not there because they actually felt bad for the individual that passed away. They felt bad for themselves. Why? This man was a businessman during his lifetime. He he provided jobs for a lot of people. So this was a businessman that instead of filling his own pockets and getting rich at the expense of the people, he did something for the masses. He did something for the people. He fought on behalf of his people. He was a hard businessman, but for his people. He didn't do it to fill his own pockets. But here's the thing. Him doing this fight for his people, he got a lot of enemies. He faced a lot of stress in his life, which led to his health issues that ended up in him having his heart attack later in life and dying. Question: if the population he stood up for had his back, he wouldn't have gone through. Would he would have gone through all of this? Likely not. So this man was neglected by the people, and their neglect caused him to decline and die in such a horrible way. And because he died now, it will become obvious to everyone nominated. How come this man did so much for the economy and he barely got rich off it himself? How come he served the public so well and he still has all these health issues going on? Where's everybody? And he's dead now? People understood very well that, oh my God, this is making us look bad. So to not be humiliated and to be embarrassed and to have mental breakdowns themselves, they went to the funeral to pay him the last respects. They were there for the funeral not because of the one that passed away, but for themselves. They have a secret they want to cover up, namely that they neglected the one that invested in their community. And this is something quite horrible. How can you not look after or take care of the ones that contribute to your community? Are you kidding me? But okay, now you get it. In life, I'm not telling you to go out there and make quick conclusions based on superficial information. Don't do that. That's being judgmental. Judgmental means you make conclusions quickly based on superficial information without doing research. Don't do that. What you should be doing is make judgments so you make conclusions based on proof. We should judge of the right judgment. We shouldn't judge based on superficial emotional information. We should examine things, research things, and we have the proof in front of us. Based on the proof, we make conclusions. That's how we should be doing. And let me tell you, when you notice something's missing in a situation, that should be the moment you pull back and do your investigation. But too many people aren't doing this. Now, what does this has to do with with the title of the live stream? Why con artists often get away? Let me explain to you. People in the world, due to the fall of Adam, they lack self-worth or they have no self-worth. That's not their fault. As a human being, however, while growing up, they realize that they need to contain themselves and realize that they need help. Those who are realistic will end up serving the Heavenly Father. Those who want to escape will end up in all types of weird religions or philosophies, whatever. Okay? And some of you were like that before you get born again, but anyway. What I'm saying is a lot of people in the world don't want to admit their own tendency to escape. Or if they do admit it, those come an excuse for it to cover it up. They don't want to admit that they're the defective ones. It's something very hard that people don't want to admit about themselves. And because their self-worth is lacking and sometimes even non-existent, internally they faint mentally, they collapse mentally when they're challenged. And because of this, worldlings often use violence to deter others from questioning or challenging them, whether the violence is directly or indirectly. That's how people in the world are. But here's the thing: in life, you'll have to deal with you have to deal with reality, what goes on. The reality on the ground, you have to deal with it. But if people keep escaping all the time, they're making things worse. And when things get too much and people are overwhelmed, now they all want to run away. But is it always possible? No. So because they can't run away and the situation makes them look bad, now this unrest, it kind of it kind of overwhelms them and now they want an outlet for it. So society is the structure in which they offload their unrest on people who can't fight back. Organized victimization, that's all society is. But here's the thing: for you to be part of this organized victimization, you have to agree that the people you victimize are to blame. And you have to believe they're guilty for it to work. Anyone calling out the bullshit, and it won't work anymore. So now you have to attack everyone calling out the bullshit. So understand this: people in the world now, they need a cover up for this organized victimization. Now they've come up with mythologies, nonsensical stories to hide the instability and the narcissism of the masses. And sometimes people get fed up with all these nonsensical stories. But here's the thing: you don't want to deal with the nonsensical stories? Okay, then you have to deal with the reality of what's going on. That the population is unstable and rely on victimization. And either you're serving the Heavenly Father and you're part of the solution, or you're part of the violence. What are you? Oh, you don't want to serve the Heavenly Father, you want to escape too? So you want to escape too, but you don't want to deal with the bullshit? Well, without the bullshit, you can't have your relief. And this is something con artists understand. They understand very well that the masses are not willing to admit their own collective narcissism. It's not a good thing to even admit. It should even exist. So, con artists, they use this knowledge against the masses all the time. And one thing I want you to know: con artists aren't even convincing. A scam artist shows you a product. So they have a visual thing that they show you, and you think, hey, I want that. You give your cash, and then you don't get anything. A scam artist is more convincing in general, but a con artist, most of the time, is not even convincing. And that's why people have a hard time admitting they've been conned. Because when you look at the con artist that tricks them, you're going to think, but hold on a minute, this guy is not even convincing. This woman doesn't even know what she's talking about. How the heck did you even fall for this? And then they need to admit their lack of self-worth and that they acted based on feelings and emotions based on reality. And once they admit they were acting on feelings and emotions instead of based on reality, they're admitting how unreliable and unstable they are. For that moment on, they lose all the reputation and nobody's going to trust them anymore. From that point on, they've given proof to everyone that they can't be trusted. In the future, if there is ever is a conflict, we're going to remind them how they make decisions based on feelings and emotions at expense of both themselves and others. And this is going to be used against them as long as they live. So now they're forced to become better people and face themselves. They don't want to do this. That's why they're not going to admit they've been caught. So con artists are not convincing at all most of the time. Some are, but that's rare. Most con artists don't even make much effort to convince you what they're saying. The only advantage a con artist has is the pride of the people they're conning. The pride, that means the unwillingness to face themselves. This resistance to admit to face themselves in the masses, that's the advantage of the con artist. Nothing more. Because people who self-reflect, people who are humble, so people that self-reflect and seek improvement, a con artist has a very hard time conning these people. Most con artists wouldn't even try. They would run away immediately. People who self-reflect will automatically also reflect on the people around them, and they will clearly see that a con artist it has no content, and that's why con artists avoid such people. A con artist will only go to people who are proud. A con artist will never go to people who are humble because they know that with humble people they're going to lose flat on their face. Con artists never go to humble people. They will always go to people who are operating in pride. Because it's only with people in pride that they have an advantage, not with those who are humble. Because a con artist wants to trick you into a position that will not benefit you. For example, let's say now you have this politician who talks about mass migration being a problem for the country. And he keeps pointing out to the criminals that are coming into the country illegally. And indeed, there are criminals coming to the country illegally. That's true. Nevertheless, the fact is the majority of the crime are committed by the locals themselves. But he doesn't talk about this. Thing is, the moment this politician kept talking about criminals crossing the border illegally, and they're the ones endangering the streets, but hold on a minute. So you mean to tell me if there are no illegals crossing the border, there's no crime in the country? Is that what you're telling me? That story doesn't even add up. It's not even convincing. It actually sounds quite stupid, even. So people should say, sir, you keep talking about criminals cross the border legally and causing crime over here. What about the crime done by the locals? If you ask that question, now I need to show you the statistics about crime. And then, based on statistics, you realize the majority of the crime, 95%, are committed by the locals. So that means that illegals committing crime is not even that big of a problem. Guess what? It's over. What do a lot of people do? When the politicians talk about, oh, criminals crossing the border illegally causing crime, a lot of people get emotional about it. They say, oh, finally someone is talking about it, blah blah blah. What goes on? The people are bitter. A lot of people are bitter. They're not owning up to stuff. They develop bitterness, and they now want an outlet for that bitterness. And illegals who commit crime because they're guilty of the crime they commit and guilty of being there illegally against the law, they can use that against them to scapegoat them. So now everyone blames the illegal migrants for their life not working out. So people end up voting for that politician. They vote him into office. And when he's into office, nothing improves. And people get disappointed. But here's the issue. The guy never offered an actual plan to improve the situation in the country. He kept blaming immigrants and illegals for it. That's the only thing he did. So what if he deports all the illegals? Guess what? You still have the locals committing the majority of the crime. So nothing has changed. So why did people even believe this politician talking this garbage of, oh, it's the illegals that come over here and commit the crime, destroying our country? Because in that case, The local population can play the victim. Oh, it's those illegals harming us. We're innocent. Those illegals come here and putting us in trouble. Hold on a minute. If the majority of the crime committed by locals, that means that the problems with the local population means we do have to look at one another and deal and face one another. People don't want to go there. So they rather hear a bullshit story of them being the victim of illegal migrants. In this case, that politician, that populist politician, is a con artist. But he never had a convincing story at all. It's the pride of the people he triggered. And that's how he obtained this leverage. Let me tell you, people that are bitter people, they will crown you king. They will crown you emperor. Some will even build a temple for you or a shrine like you are a deity, as long as you provide an outlet for their bitterness. Let me say this one more time. Bitter people will crown you king, they will crown you emperor, or even build a shrine or a temple for you, worship you like you're a god, as long as you provide an outlet for their bitterness. You offer them an outlet for their bitterness, you're the man or you're the woman. They praise you, they bond with you. Nobody can say anything bad about you. They'll worship you, I'm telling you. That's how superficial bitter people are. Bitter and violent people are quite superficial. They have no depth in them. Provide them an outlet or suggest an outlet onto them, and that's all. They don't look at anything else, and they'll praise you like you're Jesus Christ himself. And this is something every con artist knows about the masses. So, if a con artist, for example, there was this, there were many, how many of you heard of cryptocurrencies um, fraud? There've been, okay, there've been many cryptocurrency frauds out there. There were many cryptocurrency projects out there people invest a lot of cash into and they end up being robbed. Several years ago, no, it's actually a while ago, there was the thing called OneCoin. OneCoin was an alleged cryptocurrency that people invested millions into. And one day it came out that there was no successful OneCoin and the enterprise collapsed. Well, the company is still functioning today, but the individual who started it is still missing. Some people think she's dead. Some think she's still in hiding. We don't know. But anyway, OneCoin, I'm using this as an example. OneCoin was a giant money laundering scheme, they found out, where criminals would use OneCoin to launder their criminal money. And actually, a lot of people that invested in OneCoin, they lost their assets, they lost their equity, they lost all of it. My question is, who is to blame for all of this? The con artist who made up this whole story, or the people that participated? Who's to blame? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? By the way, I'm just using one coin as an example over here. There, there was a thing called Theranos also, by I believe Elizabeth Holmes. It also ended up being a big con. And let me tell you, con artists are often successful in what they're doing. They get away with sometimes millions or billions of dollars. They get away sleeping with a lot of people, taking advantage of a lot of people sexually. They get away uh, with crime sometimes, committing crime after crime, and evicting and avoiding prison. Con artists often get away with a lot in this world, easily. And the thing is, yes, some of them use paranormal charms. Some of them are pagans who do weird things. I get that. But even then, it shouldn't be so easy for them. It's easy because you have a lot of bitter and violent people out there. Bitter and violent people are the easiest to trick. It's very hard, or and sometimes even impossible to trick someone this humble. It's very difficult to trick and take advantage of someone this humble. Violent and bitter people are the easiest to take advantage of, and it happens over and over again. Don't let me even start about the United States presidential election that just happened earlier this month. Let me even start about MAGA. I'm not saying that the Democratic side was any better or any more beneficial. The Democratic side had some good points, but they're antichrist too, but you know what I mean. People in the world. I did a live stream earlier today about Absalom, in which I've explained that Absalom obtained this leverage because a lot of people were just as bitter like he was. And they recognized themselves in his bitterness against King David, against the Heavenly Father. Listen, violent and bitter people will crown you king, crown you emperor, or even worship you like a god as long as you provide them an outlet for the bitterness. That's all you have to do. Provide an outlet for them. Provide an outlet for the bitterness is all you need to do. And they'll throw everything at your feet. As a matter of fact, they'll sell out their own children, their own spouses, own relatives for you. They'll even sacrifice, endanger their own people close to them as long as you can offer them an outlet for their bitterness. That's how far people go. Bitter and violent people, when you offer them an outlet for their bitterness, they'll sell out everyone around them just have an outlet. I'm telling you. That's how far they go. So a lot of them are like Sambos. Let me explain this to you. A coon, which is a slur, is someone that sets up their own people just to get some temporary advantage. That's a coon. An Uncle Tom is a coon that's invested in an oppressive system, and he gives false hope to his own people that things will be better on the system, knowing that it's not going to get better. The female version of an Uncle Tom is an Aunt Jemima. That's a woman that starts a whole movement, a whole following, giving false hope for something she knows is not going to happen. That's an Aunt Jemima. So you have coons in general, people that sabotage on people, and Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas are the type of coons who are political, giving false hope to their own people. And then you have the Sambos or Sambas. A Sambo is an individual that sees the situation is bad and they think so low of themselves that they don't even value anyone else. They'll put anyone in danger just to get a little pat on the back. That's what a Sambo is. So a Sambo is far worse than Uncle Tom or Aunt Jemima. You may survive an Uncle Tom or an Aunt Jemima, but you likely won't survive a Sambo. And a lot of people out there, man, quite a lot of them are Sambos, I'm telling you. An Uncle Tom or Aunt Jemima is bad enough to deal with people like that. It's hard enough. But a Sambo, you all? Oh my God. And let me tell you, Sambos are often the ones that get conned easily. Not everyone that's conned out there is a Sambo. And let me tell you, I'm not saying people that are humble cannot be conned. It can happen, but it's very rare. Very rare. Whether someone is just a coon, a saboteur, or an Uncle Tom, Aunt Jemima, or they are a full Sambo, listen, you shouldn't have to deal with people like that. Look, I'm not saying that nobody can trick you or lie to you. You don't have all information. People can misuse information to trick you. I'm just saying when you're humble, it's very hard to do that towards you. If you're proud, you're easily tricked. Simple as that. I'm telling you, people that have been conned most of the time will not admit they've been conned because then they need to admit all the other stuff about themselves and the people around them. You have female con artists and male con artists. They do operate in a different way, kind of. Female con artists tend to use their sexiness and their bodies more often, while male con artists tend to use financial knowledge often. But in both cases, they're both con artists. Both get away easily because of the pride that people have. Violent people and bitter people are the easiest to trick. It is dangerous to do that though, because I may turn on you, but con artists are prepared for that most of the time. I'm telling you, when people fall for a con, it does not automatically mean they're bad people or evil people or dumb people. It just means they've been tricked. But hold on. Look at the content of the con. If they've been conned into participating in something that's not even realistic, you have to look at the people who fell for the con. Or if they are conned into something that's obviously not realistic or against reality, then you have to realize, okay, something psychologically wrong with these people. And let's go back to the story I used at the beginning of this live stream. People collectively in groups don't want to admit their collective narcissism, their collective escapism. They don't want to admit this. So that is the fuel for every con artist. Simple as that. So if anytime a con artist is successful in looting or robbing the people or in getting away with a lot of crimes, whatever crime it is, don't just go after the con artist. Ask yourself, why were people okay giving a positive individual? They're okay giving a positive individual because either they gave a positive individual or they had to admit the painful reality about themselves and face the consequences of them not being reliable people. They didn't want to do the second thing. Absolutely not. We're avoiding that. So they took in what they perceived to be the lesser of two evils. They let the con artist walk. And you experience that in life. That people will let con artists walk. So now you know how con artists get away so often. It's not because they're convinced, because most con artists aren't even convincing. It's not that they have any power of people, because con artists have no power whatsoever. Con artists are enthroned by the bitter and violent people out there who want an outlet for their bitterness. And because the con artist is offering an outlet, that's why they get a relevancy. The relevancy is given to them. It's easy to give relevancy to a con artist, but it's a very hard thing to take away the relevancy once already there. So if you're humble, self-reflecting, and dedicating yourself to improve, it's very hard for you to fall for any con. I don't say it's impossible, it's quite hard. And if the people around you in general are self reflecting and seek improvement, real improvement, for themselves and others, con artists will run away from that community. So anywhere you see con artists thriving, know that the people there are in a bad condition. Anywhere you see con artists thriving, especially financially, just know something's off with these people over there. Because if the people there were in a healthy state collectively, the con artists wouldn't even be there. Simple as that. We have to forgive people and look for peace with other people, absolutely. However, that does not mean we deny reality of what we're dealing with. Forgiving and moving on doesn't cancel out the past, and it does not undo the wounds and the damage. It simply means we are able to recover and deal with the situation better now. All right. Are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know in the live chat. Thank you very much. So, while you may be writing down your questions, I want always ask yourself the following question. If you notice that there are con artists active somewhere, what are these people hiding? There's always something the public is hiding. And because they're hiding something, they now want an outlet to appear better than they really are. And that's why the con art is so relevant. So the question is, if a con artist is active somewhere and they get arrested or caught, what you need to ask is, what were people hiding? There's something they're hiding. Likely it's either people they neglected or people they secretly killed, or it is um, some other type of exploitation if you're involved in. There's some type of questionable activity or questionable attitude that they're hiding. And so watch out with that in daily life. Con artists go where the people are proud. Yes, con artists often hide in plain sight. Not all of them do, but those who are experienced do that. The thing is, most con artists make use of paranormal aid anyway, witchcraft or black magic. But the witch or black magic still cannot work that effectively without the masses complying with it. And that's what I'm pointing out here. The masses have something to hide, something they're not owning up to. So that's why they now want to, the people now long for an outlet so they don't have to deal with the thing they're hiding. And the con artist is offering this outlet. That's why the con artist is perceived to them like he or she's some type of savior. So if you notice a con artist are active, ask yourself, what are the people hiding? Once you know what they're hiding, you know what goes on. Listen, as believers, we ought to be peacemakers as far as we can. We can't guarantee peace everywhere or with everyone, but we can walk in peace with everyone as far as depends on us, as we're told to. To do that, we need to know what we're dealing with. All right? Good. I didn't receive any other questions, any questions here. Thank you all for being here. Keep on agreeing with Christ, our Lord, and see you next live stream. Shalom.